everybody. We've got Jeannie Jones here, and she just gave a talk on very difficult passages in the Bible, and specifically chapter Psalm 137 and Genesis 22. But Jeannie, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, I got into apologetics pretty young because when I became a Christian in high school, when I was about 15, my dad told me that he was just super disappointed that I'd become a Christian, and he said he could easily use logic to get me out of believing in God. And earlier, when I was about 5 or 6 or so, he had told me only stupid people would believe in the Bible. And so when he told me he could easily talk me out of being a Christian, I thought, okay, I really need to know this stuff. And for the day when he decides, yes, I'm going to do it. And then I started dating Clay in high school, and he was already interested in apologetics. He also was not raised in a Christian family, and he wanted to read Josh McDowell's Evidence That Demands a Verdict. So we read it together, and then we started reading Kingdom of the Cults and other things together. And so that's how I got started in it. Now I'm in part of the Women in Apologetics organization.
That's awesome. And you and Clay are just like an awesome duo in apologetics. And so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The first, I guess, question I have is, what is Psalm 137 about, and why is it such a difficult passage to talk about?
Yeah, Psalm 137 is the most shocking of all of the Psalms. And the reason is because it ends with this line of, "Blessed is he who dashes your babies on the rocks." And that's just a shocking, shocking line. But we need to look at it in the context of the psalm itself, and we need to look at it in its historical background. What had happened is the Jews had been exiled. They had been disobeying God, and God had told them, if this is my land, and if you can live in it as long as you obey me, but you stop obeying me, and I'm going to drive you out of the land. And it had gotten so bad. The various prophets described how bad things had gotten in the southern nation of Israel first, the northern nation of Israel first, and then the southern nation of Judah. The rich were exploiting the poor. Murder had become, unfortunately, commonplace. There was a lot of child sacrifice going on, especially in the southern kingdom of Judah. And by the time 2 of the kings, King Ahaz and his grandson Manasseh, had sacrificed their children, burning them to the idol Moloch, God said, "This is it. It is too much. I'm driving you out." And that was his way, he says in Habakkuk, of ending all the evil that the people were doing. And so he drove them out, and he told them through Isaiah that he was going to do it through the means of Babylon. That Babylon was going to come, and that's what happened. Babylon came in, Judah resisted, and so they came in, they burned the temple, knocked down a lot of the buildings, and exiled all the people. And they were taking them 500 miles away to where they were going to deposit them. What they did is, once they conquered one kingdom, they moved those people to the homes of somebody else they conquered, and then moved those people there to someplace else. And they did that to prevent uprisings.
Yeah.
But the 500 miles is a long ways to go, and they didn't want them going slowly, so they killed the infirm, they killed the elderly, and they dashed the babies on the rocks. All the children that would have kept their parents from going as quickly as they wanted to go, they killed. That was one of the ways that they terrorized kingdoms into submission, so that they would go, "Okay, that's fine, we submit, we'll be part of your empire, we'll give you all the money you want," instead of resisting. So when the psalmist is writing this, he's asking God to repay what has been done to them, to Babylon. They had lived under the Mosaic law, which is a talionic law system, meaning eye for eye and tooth for tooth, so that if somebody injured another person's eye, the greatest penalty that can be done to the perpetrator was to lose an eye as well. And that kept them from escalating punishments to the point where people were just killing everybody for just anything.
Yeah.
But while it also kept things from being escalated, it also gave punishment, like punishment for things. And so the psalmist was saying, so they dashed our babies on the rocks, so let somebody do that to them as well. In addition, he was quoting a prophecy of Isaiah's, because Isaiah said that, yes, God was going to use Babylon to drive the people out of the land and cleanse the land for 70, he didn't say 70 years, but cleanse the land for a period of time. And then he was going to send somebody else to punish Babylon for her evil deeds. And then later Jeremiah said that it would be a 70-year period. Right. So the psalmist was looking at that particular prophecy and showing trust in that prophecy. Yeah. One of the things that the Psalms are all Hebrew poetry, and one of the things about poetry is that they use gut-wrenching language as a means of making other people feel what they're feeling. Yeah. And so by taking this one horrific event and putting it at the end of the psalm, he's using a figure of speech called synecdoche, and letting that one event remind everybody of all the horrors that they went through. Yeah. And it's also synecdoche for the prophecy as well. He's taking that one prophecy and letting it stand for all the things that God said that he would do in ending the exile for them.
Yeah. So would it be accurate to say that the psalmist is actually asking for justice during this? Yeah.
He's asking for justice.
Yeah. That's really good.
He's helping the others around. He's in exile himself. He's one of the survivors. And he's helping the people process grief, and he's crying out for justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for unpacking that. What about Genesis 22?
Sure. Genesis 22 is a chapter that's very, very important in the Bible. It has its own name, the binding of Isaac. It's incredibly important, but it's one that people are very concerned about because of the very difficult ask that God gives to Abraham. He asks Abraham in a very tender way, but nonetheless it is an ask. He says, Abraham, take now your son and offer him to me as a burnt offering in the place that I will show you. Yeah. And Abraham goes for it. Yeah. And it's like, whoa, how can this be? You know? And atheists like to use that one as, oh my goodness, that's one of the most horrific things that we've ever heard of. But the historical background there is very important, because in the city where Abraham came from, the city of Ur, there was human sacrifice going on already. It had been going on prior to the time of Abraham and during the time of his lifespan. It's some of the largest deposits of human sacrifices were in the city of Ur ever. Okay. And the thing that we forget is that we ourselves know, of course, that making a sacrifice to an idol, to a rain god, does nothing. We know how weather works now. Right. But they believed that the weather and the forces of weather and all of nature were governed by capricious gods who didn't really like humans. And so they had to get their attention. And when what seemed to work previously, it seemed to bring rain, doesn't work anymore, they had to keep doing more and more outlandish things to get the gods' attention. Wow. So if you're going through a drought and people are starting to lose family members, you can see an adult saying, my family's going to die. I'll sacrifice myself to try to get the gods' attention. And that would be seen as something noble. Now, in Abraham's day and in Ur, nearly all of the human sacrifice was of adults. So later in Canaan, that wasn't the case. It was almost entirely children. Yeah, and small children. So that's an important thing to know, that Abraham would not thought it to have been an immoral ask, because it would have seemed like
kind of normal.
Normal, yeah.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the gods expect. Why is this God any different? So God had carefully prepared Abraham. He himself had appeared multiple times to Abraham and spoken to him. The angels had appeared to him and spoken to him. He'd seen the miraculous rescue of his nephew, where he takes 318 young men and is able to rescue his nephew from the armies of 4 kings.
Yeah.
And then the biggest miracle of all, of course, is when his postmenopausal 91-year-old wife, Sarah, gets pregnant and bears Isaac. And it's through Isaac that all the promises are coming. But the main point there is that God had carefully prepared Abraham, and Abraham trusted God. He trusted that the promises were going to be fulfilled through Isaac, which meant Isaac had to live and have children.
Yeah.
So that he was prepared for that very important moment.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And just real quick, one of the aha moments for me that you just explained in your talk was the ram that replaced Isaac. The ram was caught in the thicket, the thorns, and that's looking towards Jesus with the crown of thorns on his head. Yeah. That was a huge aha moment for me.
I know, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the New Testament in Hebrews tells us that Abraham's receiving back Isaac when he was as good as dead was a type of the Father receiving back Jesus through resurrection. And so the type there is pretty tight. There's a lot of ways that Isaac was a type of Jesus. That both of their births were prophesied. Both of their births were miraculous. Both of them carried the wood that was supposed to be the offering for themselves. There's another one there.
Symbolism.
Oh yeah, so much there. And then, of course, though, the angel of the Lord stopped Abraham from going on, but he did not stop the Father, because God was doing what no human being could do for another man. He was paying for the sin so that we all could live.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Jeannie.
You're welcome.
How can we find you if we want to get in contact with you, connect with you, find out more about what you do? Where can we look for?
JeannieJones.net. That's JeaneJones.net.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.